Hey everybody, this is CXC Pokemon TCG with another Pokemon TCG Weekly. Today I'm recording from CoolStuffGames in Waterford Lakes, and I'm playing a deck of my own creation. It's a Zoroark deck with one Zoroark break just for tech situations, and it uses Bronzong to accelerate energy on the bench so that with two Metal Links Bronzongs I can potentially charge up two Zoroarks in one turn. It's meant to be fast. It's meant to hit hard against people with large bench space. And it's good for matchups against both Trevenant Break and Night March because I do run the baby Yveltal, which OHKOs everything Night March runs, with the exclusion of Joltik with a Fighting Fury Belt. So I'm facing off against a Trevenant Break deck this first round here. He runs a Gengar Trevenant Break combination so that once he can use Silent Fear with Trevenant, he can switch out for Gengar and hit for KO on any of my Pokemon. Now this is the Stage 2 Gengar, not the Gengar EX. Though Gengar EX might not be bad with Trevenant Break, because you could attack, switch back with Dark Corridor, and put them back under item lock. But this Gengar allows for that prize exchange that makes Trevenant Break so potent anyway. And that is another point about my deck that I wanted to raise, is that having Zoroark as the main attacker allows me to keep up with the prize exchange of decks like Trevenant Break and Night March. In this meta right now, that's extremely important. I mean, those two decks are so potent that they're forcing everything to play non-EX Pokemon if they want to be able to compete in the really high competitive matches. So this deck that I'm running, in theory, is good. In practice, it wasn't what I had hoped. You'll see during this game it's a close call. During the next game, it falls short of a victory when I can't find my Pokemon. The consistency is there. I mean, it runs 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Versus Seeker, 4 Battle Compressor, 4 Trainer's Mail. It goes in, and you can always get what you need. But I don't know, it just doesn't work as well as you would think it would. Especially when your opponent realizes what you're doing and then restricts their bench space, you're left high and dry. I do run one copy of Yveltal EX, just so that I can try to hit for big numbers when my opponent's bench space is small, but it doesn't really come in handy that much. So let's get into this game here. I start with baby Yveltal, he starts the Phantom. I know I'm going up against Trevenant Break, so I'm trying to play as much as I can, as quickly as I can, before I get put under that item lock that Trevenant is so infamous for. I put down 2 Pokemon on my bench, a Bronzor and a Zorua, to try to get an attacker ready and a Bronzong ready. That Bronzong is going to be extremely useful when I'm under item lock, because I'm still going to be able to get the energy I need to, just punch straight through that item lock and hopefully come out on the other side victorious. So I end, we both shuffle into our hands, draw 6 because no one has taken a prize yet. And really, I don't have much I can do here, which is extremely unfortunate. I wanted to play like some Ultra Balls, get some Pokemon in my hand that I can use to evolve next turn, and so forth. But here I'm just going to battle compress out cards that I can use to get back later. 2 Metal Energies, so I can get those back with Bronzong, and a Teammates, so that hopefully later on I can use a Versus Seeker if I break through item lock to get cards that I need to win the game. Since this is a deck that relies on the prize exchange, and my main attackers are non-EX Pokemon, I have more opportunities to use teammates, which is why it's such a good card in this deck. I don't even get an energy attachment off. I run enough energy to where I was confident that I would get a darkness energy off of that N. That was not the case. So that really set me back. An energy attachment on that Yveltal would have been very nice, because then the next turn I could have had 2 energies on my Zorua. But he attaches an energy onto Phantump, which alerts me that he probably does not have a Dimension Valley in play. But it does allow him to use Ascension, and that is what he does here. That's extremely important for me, because I know that he doesn't have anything in his hand that he can use, which is extremely surprising to me. All he's able to do is put me under item lock. And I was in a bad situation, but he's also in a bad situation, so we'll see how this goes here. I Sycamore, which is good. I definitely don't want to end in this situation because he does have such bad cards in his hand. I don't want to reshuffle and give him anything good. I do get the Zoroark, so I'm able to evolve. And there's a Darkness Energy onto Yveltal, so I can hopefully get some energy back from my discard pile. That helps with energy acceleration. Also longevity, because I'm not going to have to dig through my deck for energy to use. I can instead play from my discard pile. It does hit for super effective damage also against this Trevenant, which is huge. If he can't get a basic Pokemon, I win the game next turn. But he does have Bridget, so he uses that, gets his 3 Pokemon off. You can't really see in the picture there because there is a lot of glare, but that is a Remoraid. So I know he's going to be going for an Octillery. In my opinion, I like Octillery in Trevenant Break decks more than Shaman. Shaman is faster, but Octillery is good for the prize exchange, and you don't have that liability of Shaman on the bench to get Lysandered out and KO'd for 2 prize cards. I just think it's better because the matchup against other decks that use Shaman is extremely good, especially because Trevenant usually plays long games where your opponent's going to have more opportunities to use Lysander. Here's another Oblivion Wing. 60 damage to put that Trevenant at 120. I now have 30 damage on all of my Pokemon. Bronzor does have only 60 HP, so one more Silent Fear is going to get a KO for him onto my Bronzor. Hopefully I can grab a Bronzong next turn so I can at least last one more turn. Possibly even get a Metal Lynx off. That would be ideal. But he bumps my Stadium, and now he's going to be able to attack. Okay, so there's an evolution from Ghastly to Haunter, leaves both active Pokemon confused. This is important because Trevenant is also confused here, so he has to roll to attack. He does get Tails, so Bronzor lives another turn. He puts 30 damage on himself. He was already in KO range for that Yveltal, so it didn't really matter. So I bumped the Stadium again. Since I did put my Stadium down first, I'm probably going to lose the Stadium battle here, which is too bad, but nothing else you can do. Okay, so I'm going to attack. We'll see if I can roll heads. And it's a heads! That's a knockout on the Trevenant Break, so I am one step closer to getting out of item lock. He does have a Trevenant on the bench, so he's probably just going to move that forward here and maintain his item lock presence. But one step closer, every bit at a time. He doesn't have a Phantump on the bench, so unless he gets a Phantump and then Wally's, he's going to be dead if I can get a Darkness Energy here. because one stand-in with Zoroark is going to grant me a KO onto this Trevenant sitting there. Alright, and there's that Octillery. I mean, the power is great here to be able to consistently draw every turn. Not having to waste a supporter for Sycamore or N, and instead being able to use things like Lysander or Team Flare Grunt or Zerosic or something like that is a huge benefit to Octillery, I think. Okay, and there's the Silent Fear. Gives him a knockout on the Bronzor, unfortunately. And here I pull the Bench Barrier Bronzong. I cannot believe one turn earlier, and I would have been completely safe from anything he did unless he had a Hex Maniac. And he wouldn't want a Hex Maniac anyway because that would put me out of item lock. So, I mean, if I had just pulled that Bronzong one turn earlier, all of my bench Pokemon would have been safe from any attacks from his Trevenants, and the game would have been an easy win for me, but, you know, things don't always go as planned, and that's just the luck of the draw, literally. But I'm gonna attack again. It's Tails, so I just do 30 damage to myself, which is too bad because I'm now within KO range of a Tree Stamp. Okay. I don't really know what just happened. I think he just Versus Seekered and took a Dimension Valley from the discard? That's not what Versus Seeker does. But I guess I wasn't paying attention during the game. There was some drama going off with some of the younger kids and juniors giving each other advice about each other's matches, and one of the judges was scolding them, and I think I was paying attention to that and not the game. So the Birch grants a 7-card draw. I don't think Birch is really relevant anymore. I think N is so much better. It can save you from many tight spots, and at the end of the game, say you're about to deck out, you have 1 or 2 prize cards left, and you have 5 cards in your hand, you can just N and save yourself a couple more turns, guaranteed. It can also turn the game if your opponent's ahead of you. You can like leave them with 1 or 2 cards in hand, and then draw like 5 yourself. Birch, I don't like relying on Birch. Anything with a coin flip I feel is a little bit too inconsistent, especially as a supporter card that you can only play 1 of per turn. I need to be able to rely on it, and N is just more secure for me. Alright, there's some energy going onto the board for Ghastly. There's already an energy on that Gengar. Those are big threats right now. If you notice, I have at least 3 damage on all of my Pokemon on the board, so that's a KO for that Gengar sitting there. Okay, a Tree Slam yields the KO onto my Yveltal. 20 on my Zoroark here, 20 on my Shaman. I put the Shaman in front. I top deck the Dark Energy, stand in, and a KO onto that Trevenant break there. I mean, that saved me so much. I think without that top deck energy, I probably would have lost the game. Because now he can just bring in a Gengar here and kill me. I mean, I could have gotten like a Sycamore or an N or something that would allow me to get energy. But man, that top deck though. And I'm now out of item lock unless he can get a Phantom and a Wally to evolve and then switch into the active spot. Well, I guess I KO this Gengar anyway. Well, no, because Zoroark's gonna die. Yeah, unless he can get a Trevenant out on the bench and then switch it into the active spot, there's no way I'm going under item lock next turn. I have tons of items that I've been stockpiling in my hand right here. This is another situation where he knows I'm not in item lock anymore. If he had N, that Versus Seeker for N in this situation would be absolutely ideal. All those items I've been stockpiling in my hand would just get shuffled back into my deck. Another reason why N is just such a versatile tool. Definitely recommend N over Birch in any deck. However, I think he's just trying to play as much as he can to get ready. Because I am not under item lock anymore, he definitely suspects I'm going to be able to pull something off next turn. So he wants to prepare for it. He Versus Seekers for the Skyla, plays the Skyla, and then goes in to grab a Lysander. That is going really deep for that Lysander. I mean, he just wasted a supporter and a Versus Seeker just to grab that. It's a slow play, but it is a safe play. And he's trying to make sure that he's prepared for anything that I might put out next turn and hopefully prevent me from doing what I want to do. I think it was a good play. It's too bad that he had to go so deep for it, you know? But here I'm just gonna explode out. Ultra Ball, discard the Battle Compressor. I don't need it anymore. There's already stuff in my discard. And I discard a Versus Seeker. Now I do have 2 in my hand, so I'm still guaranteed any supporter that I need. I go in for a Zorua. I want to have an attacker up and ready as soon as I can. Next turn, hopefully I can get a Zoroark and like a double colorless. Or hopefully I'll have a Bronzong ready to Metal Links onto it with a basic energy attachment, have it ready to go. Okay, there's another Ultra Ball, the second one I had in my hand. And I'm going to discard that Bench Barrier Bronzong. I do decide to discard it because I'm not in fear of being attacked by Trevenant anymore. I have killed 2 of them, there's no more on the board. If I really need that Bronzong later, I can always use Sacred Ash to get it back because I do run 1 copy of Sacred Ash. And unfortunately, I also have to discard a Metal Links Bronzong. But I just need to get ready because it's very possible I'll be put under item lock again next turn. So there's another Zorua on the bench. My idea here is that even if he manages to KO 1, I can still get a Zoroark out on the next turn because you can't kill 2 Zoruas in 1 turn. Shaman for 3 cards here, I believe. Yep. Unfortunately, there's a Sycamore and a Versus Seeker here. So if I want to use Sycamore, I'm going to have to get rid of a Versus Seeker. It's worth it though, because I'm probably not going to be able to use Versus Seekers that much anyway this game if I'm just going to be put under item lock again. So after a consultation of the discard, I decide to play a Versus Seeker for teammates. Now, this allows me to not waste that Versus Seeker on Sycamoring. I believe this is definitely the smartest play. I did have a Pokemon KO'd last turn, so I can get 2 cards, probably a DCE and a Zoroark. That's definitely going to guarantee that I can attack next turn, unless of course he ends me, but he doesn't play in, so I'm safe. So I decide, why not? Let's go for it. Zoroark and double colorless will guarantee me an attacker next turn, and a KO onto that Gengar because I will hit it for 140 with weakness, and it only has 130 HP. Now I do decide to Sky Return with this Shaman, and the reason for that is it is currently a huge liability sitting on my bench with 5 damage counters on it. It's within KO range for Gengar, and if he does KO it, it is 2 prize cards, which could easily turn the game. And all it would take would be a simple Lysander, which I know he has in his hand. So, Sky Return will allow me to pick up that Shaman and the double colorless, have the double colorless ready for a Zoroark next turn, and even if I decide to put the Shaman back down, it's not going to have any damage on it. It's not going to be threatened in any way by Gengar. And there it is, a Sky Return. So, damage goes away, Shaman goes back in my hand, and I promote the Shaman that was on my bench because I'm not scared in the least. So there's a Phantump. I think that was a top deck. You know, great top deck there. So he retreats the Gengar. I think there's a special psychic energy attached to it, which allows him to do that. And so all he has to do is use Ascension here, and I'm back under item lock. It's probably not what he wants to do. The best thing to do would be to Wally. I'm not sure if he has access to that. But he Skylas again to get the Wally. But he can't play Wally because he already used a supporter for this turn. I guess he doesn't have an Ultra Ball or anything like that, and he doesn't want to use Skyla to get that, to discard anything from his hand. But I guess he would use it to evolve that Gengar, or I mean that Haunter, into Gengar next turn. But at least now I know he has access to many different tools, so I need to be prepared for all of that. But definitely here, just stand in and Mind Jack for the KO to get out of item lock again, take one more prize, is definitely the best plan of attack. Because again, Zoroark doesn't have any damage on him, not threatened by Gengar in any way unless he has 3 damage counters on him. So there it is. Simple stand-in. But I do decide to Shaman again. After contemplating, I decide it's definitely worth the risk, because there really isn't much risk. So there's a Mind Jack and a knockout. I believe with 3 benched Pokemon, that's going to hit for 200 damage because of weakness. So yeah. Gengar goes back out. He's just kind of a sitting duck right there now. He knows it too. He's thinking about what all he can do. I see a Trainer's Mail in his hand, the Lysander. I know he has a Wally as well. So Gengar's first attack is probably the best choice here. That's gonna poison me. Next turn I'll be at 3 damage counters, but I am going to be hitting for a KO onto that Gengar anyway. But he could evolve the Haunter on the bench and come in for the KO. But I do have a Zorua getting ready to go on the bench as well. He's in a tough spot. and I target whistle to put another Pokemon on his bench. Unfortunately, it has to be a Phantump, but you know, item lock isn't really the scariest thing to me right now. I'm set up enough. I've got a Zoroark ready to go almost. One DCE attachment is going to give me a KO on anything he puts out on the board at this point in time. So I Sycamore here. Trying to go for some energy for next turn, a Zoroark for next turn. Just anything that's going to allow me to attack even after this Zoroark on the field in the active position is dead. Now I'm just noticing that my Zoroark doesn't have a damage counter on it. It definitely should, because Gengar's first attack puts 1 damage counter on every Pokemon. I should have 2 damage on there because the turn passed and I had poison. Okay, and here I realize it, but I do put 1 damage counter on. It should be 2. I'll call it even after that versus Seeker for Dimension Valley earlier in the game. I mean, if he runs 4 Dimension Valley, that gave him access to 5, and so any stadium battle's guaranteed. Alright. So I just got a poison marker to make sure I don't make a mistake like that again. And there's the Wally, and he decides to go for the break. I mean, it's a smart play. I still KO him with Mind Jack, but it does give him access to Silent Fear. I'm not sure what I would have done there. I think he has a Lysander in hand. I would have Lysandered out a Shaman to maybe stall for a turn. But there's a Metal Lynx. The first one of the game. I've been waiting for it all the time, but he did KO that Bronzor earlier. So there goes the poison damage onto that Zoroark, but I just stand in. This is an easy knockout on that Trevenant break. This is a big thing of what my deck was designed for, so doing what I want it to do. I mean, that's nice, right? If only it did that during other games. Alright, there's the Mind Jack. Nothing else I can do during turn. And I do pull a prize. So now I believe I have 2 prizes left. He has 3 prizes left. There's only 1 damage on my Zoroark here, so I'm safe from Gengar being able to KO me. The thing is, there is a Zoroark on my bench that has 3 damage on it, so Lysander, and that is the play he does. He Lysanders out that Zoroark, picks up a KO. You know, with his game in the state it is, he just needs to pick up a KO where he can. Alright, grabs a Wally with the Trainer's Mail. That could be used to evolve that Haunter into a Gengar. There's another Trainer's Mail. Uses it to grab a Dimension Valley. Even though he already has Dimension Valley out, I've played plenty of Skyfield. You know, having it in hand is always handy. No pun intended, but I've already played all my Skyfields, I believe. So there's a KO. Just gonna bring my Zoroark out to the front. I could bring any Pokemon out to the front and then just stand in with Zoroark later. I'm chatting with my friend here to the side, so bear with me. And I do that. I bring the Yveltal out to the front because I can just stand in. Let's see what happens. Trying to figure out what the best thing to do is, trying to do a damage calculation here. I do see a DCE in hand. It's not really helpful at this point in the game because he did KO the Zoroark I had on the bench. I don't have any Zorua on the bench. So here's a knockout onto that Gengar. The only thing he can really promote here is that Haunter. Well, honestly, I would have promoted the Octillery because I wouldn't have been able to KO it. But he puts that Phantump on the bench, realizes his mistake because that guarantees me a KO on the Gengar. I mean, even if he had just left the Octillery there, I wouldn't have been able to KO the Gengar. But this, he's gonna die next turn. So he birches again, rolls tails to draw 4 cards. Okay, so he does a Sinister Fog. I'm poisoned, so I'm... Yeah, here I do the damage correctly. I don't know why I didn't do it right earlier. That's 1 damage on all my bench Pokemon. And here, the game's over. I'm just being a little cheeky, I think. Maybe I'm just curious to see what all I had left in my deck. But I could just swing and KO this Gengar. It would hit for 140. But we're just fooling around, so whip down the Lysander to KO the little baby Phantump. And that's a good game there. So you guys remember Kent? I faced off against him last game, or I mean last week. He was running the Dark deck. That's him standing there, hiding behind a little girl, because he broke my stand. Can you believe that? He picked it up and broke it. So, we're not friends anymore. Anyway, we'll jump into this game. I'm facing a deck made by my friend here. It is a Mega Gardevoir deck with Giratina. Now, one of the unique factors of this deck is that Double Dragon Energy counts as all types of energy when attached to a dragon Pokemon. And Mega Gardevoir does damage based on the amount of fairy Pokemon or fairy energy in play. Now, a Double Dragon Energy attachment onto a Giratina will yield 60 extra damage on Mega Gardevoir's attack. You could Max Elixir and in 1 turn boost your damage output on a Mega Gardevoir by 90. I mean, that's insane. Not to mention if you use Geomancy early in the game to get the extra energy, and you've been attaching Double Dragon Energies for turn the entire game, I mean, on turn 3 you could easily be hitting for over 200 damage. Luckily, he didn't start with Xerneas. There are multiple ways he could get Xerneas out to the front. within the first turn, though he is going first, so he can't attack. That's good for me. But anyway, he puts down a Hoopa, grabs a Giratina, and a Mega Gardevoir. I know you can't really see it that well because of the glare, but trust me, it's a Hoopa. Puts down a Shaman. Ultra Balls, discarding an Aromatisse, which has a lot of recoil there, and gets rid of that Mega Gardevoir. No? A Versus Seeker. If I were him, I think I would have gotten rid of the Mega Gardevoir. But actually, I do remember him saying that he wasn't running Super Rod. Should definitely run Super Rod in like every deck. I mean, being able to put something from your discard back into your deck that you didn't want to discard is huge. But anyway, he's able to Shaman again for more cards. His setup is huge. I mean, look at his bench space. If you recall, Zoroark does damage based on the number of Pokemon on your opponent's bench. So I'm actually pretty happy right now. The bigger his setup is, the bigger my counter is. So keep going, Zach. Keep building up that deck, or that bench. And I am starting with Baby Veltal again, which is definitely a good start for this deck. If I can put energy in the discard, attach energy for turn, that's an extra energy that I couldn't get otherwise. And every energy played is a step towards more damage, so a benefit for me. Now he does run max elixirs and max potions, and so his damage output is going to be pretty scary. With the Aromatisse's ability, he can move all energy from one Pokemon to another as many times as he wants per turn, and then heal damage with max potion and then put the energy back. I mean, that is extremely potent. So I'm kind of scared for that. If I can't hit for one-hit knockouts, chances are I'm not going to get KOs because I believe he is running 4 max potion. That's a lot of max potion. If I want to hit for KOs onto a Gardevoir with a Zoroark, there's going to have to be 6 Pokemon on his bench with a Muscle Band because of weakness. And that is hard to do. I do run Target Whistle, so it is possible if I just put down a Skyfield and then Target Whistle. Easy to accomplish because his deck does utilize all of the bench space. To hit a Mega Gardevoir for a knockout, there would have to be 7 on the bench plus a Muscle Band, because that would hit for 240. Yeah, 240, and then the resistance would hit for 220, and it has 210 HP. So that's going to be hard to do. Probably not possible, so I need to pick up KOs on other Pokemon while I can. So I put down that Bronzor because I want to get Bronzongs going as soon as possible, to just charge up my Pokemon and be ready to retaliate if need be. So the Ultra Ball comes out. If I were me, I would grab a Zorua here, just because I need to get those attackers going as quickly as possible. Alright, after a quick inventory of the deck, I put down the Zorua. Right now he's pretty set up, but I'm having a decent start as well, so hopefully I could get things going and do what I need to do. So there's an Oblivion Ring. Only does 10 damage, but I do get to accelerate that energy, so I think it's definitely worth it. So he evolves into Aromatisse on the second turn of the game. That's good. I mean, that's scary. The utility of that Pokemon is just amazing. So I end here. He doesn't have a lot of cards in hand, so it is helping him out a bit, but it's the only draw sport I have on me, and I need to explode if I'm going to attack against this deck. Really, if I get a Zoroark and stand in, I can pick up a KO on that Gardevoir this turn, and that would be ideal. So there's my 6. Do get the Zoroark. Now all I need is one more energy, or maybe a Bronzong, and I'm forced to use a double colorless. It's a little bit inefficient, but I feel like grabbing this KO is more important. So I put down another Zorua. I want to get another attacker going up as soon as possible. So he's got 6 on bench, so I would hit for 180 with Muscle Band for 200. Because of weakness on the Gardevoir, I would hit for 180, which is a knockout. So standing in is probably the best play here, and that's what I do. And that's 2 prize. So hopefully I can keep doing similar things like that this game. If I pick up 2 prizes for every 1 prize he gets on me, I will win. I believe here a Geomancy would be the proper play. He did hit that last Max Elixir there, so he's already setting up pretty well, even after being set back by that KO onto the Gardevoir. Alright, so he decides to switch it over to the Giratina. After Geomancy, there will be 2 Fairy Energy on Giratina. You can also see here he has 2 Dragon Energy, or Double Dragon Energy in hand. So next turn he has the ability to power up that Giratina and attack. Now it does hit for 100 damage, my Zoroarks have 100 HP, and that Chaos Wheel would stop me from really doing anything because I use Special Energy mostly. Also a bunch of tools and stadiums. So really that would probably mean the end of the game for me if that Giratina comes out next turn. A Lysander here would be good to get out that Giratina. It would allow me to get another 2 prize and get rid of the threat on the field. And the Versus Seeker in hand comes out. A Lysander. Lysandering out that Giratina. And I hit for plenty of damage to knock it out here. So that's huge. I'm only 2 prizes away from winning. He still has 6 prizes remaining. He's going to be forced to Geomancy this turn, I believe, if he wants to build up enough energy to come back. But here we have an interesting play going on. He's going in really deep for this Gardevoir. Yeah, here I'm in a lot of trouble. That Gardevoir hits for 100 damage. He can just free retreat and switch the energy. So that's a clean knockout onto the Zoroark. Oh man. That was such a solid play. I mean, He went deep, he got it. 100 damage is a perfect number against me. I'm in a really bad spot now because if I don't get a Zoroark and like a target whistle, this game is done. So I bumped the stadium. Hopefully he can't retreat now. Not that it really matters much. If he were smart, he would just keep attacking. I'm really in a tough spot here. If I Oblivion Wing, I do have 130 HP, so I can survive another one of those attacks. So I decide to go for it, on the off chance he can't get the Mega. Really, I don't have the critical mass here to retaliate. He Sycamores with a Versus Seeker and draws the Mega Gardevoir. So that spells Demise for me. There's not much I can do there. Yveltal's down. I don't have a Zoroark ready. Really, this turn, I need to draw a Zoroark and an Energy. But I top deck the Bronzor. I don't have anything in my hand I can use because I used my Versus Seeker for Lysander for that Giratina. He's super built up now. He has enough energy to knock out anything I have. And now that I don't have any threats on the board, a Lysander for a Shaman would be a good way for him to really come back into this game. And probably even more than come back into this game. And there it is. An easy 2 prize. I promote the Bronzor again because I don't want him to take 2 prizes from the Shaman next turn. And hopefully I can just sacrifice the Bronzor and become able to set up a Zoroark. So now I'm just taking out things that I don't want to draw. With that Battle Compressor there. I still have lots of cards in my deck. Not good because supporters in there are diluted. And so if I don't top deck something I need next turn, I'm gonna lose. And really, it doesn't even matter what I get next turn. I've already lost this game. He KOs Bronzor this turn. Even if I switch into Zoroark, I'm not going to hit enough damage to knock out, and then he's just going to return it for the KO. So really, the game's already over. I pass. Yeah, there's the Birch. He hits Tails to only draw 4 cards. There's just a lot going on his side of the field there. I mean, he has enough energy to really KO most things. And on my little tiny 100 HP Pokemon, there's nothing I can do to stop a KO. and so I don't top deck what I need. I top deck a Zoroark break, so I just concede the game. I mean, nothing else I could do. It was a lot of fun. This deck kind of falls off if you can't get a constant stream of Pokemon, or you can't increase your opponent's bench size. But anyway, I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys had a lot of fun watching. And this has been CXC Pokemon TCG. I'll see you around.